What's up, folks? Many people found the idea of installing a scooter ignition on a Dnipr to be fascinating. Yes, the implementation of this idea was not very good, because I did it hastily in just a few minutes because I really wanted to see if it worked or not. Most liked the idea, but there were those who were dissatisfied with something and wrote, "Dude, just slam a battery in and that's it." So somebody considered it a hellish nonsense, and therefore in this video I'll make a nonsense on an even greater scale. Yeah, someone wrote, "And I kept sitting and waiting for this sagging ceiling to finally fall on you." Guys, if only you knew how many bike parts are there in this attic, you yourself would want this ceiling to fall on you. In this video I'll stick something on my Dnipr that Soviet old-timers used to install back in the USSR. This is a kind of a CDI ignition from 90s, and this technology was not known to everyone, and only a select few installed it on their Dniprs and Urals. Okay, so it was a couple of years ago. I was, as always, sitting in my garage tinkering with Dniprs. Suddenly my father showed up on his tractor and called me. He goes, "I was at a guy's place, he had a pile of scrap metal and several Dnipr parts were lying in it. I took those parts, so go look at them, maybe there's something interesting for you." There were a couple of interesting pieces, which were only partly a Dnipr generator. I couldn't understand what's this rotor from. I mean, the front part is clearly a Dnipr generator, but the rotor itself interested me. Unfortunately, I've never dealt with Minsk or Voskhod bikes. Plus this cover over here at the back, this was clearly turned on a lathe somewhere by some old-timer. So unable to call what it is, I collected it all and threw it in my attic. A few weeks ago, my father came up to me again and said, "Look, I found some kind of generator there, its rotor is magnetic and there's some kind of sensor on it similar to your Hall sensors. Go check it out." And he found this generator the same way, in some guy's scrap metal pile, just like he found this thing. Yeah, and Dad, I'm grateful for you supporting me and regularly supplying me with motorcycle parts. Thank you. I checked the thing and learned that it was some kind of self-exciting generator with a contactless ignition system. So this is a magnetic rotor, these are the coils that generate electricity, and two high-voltage coils like in a CDI ignition from a scooter. By the way, this thing is brand new and I have no idea whether it works or not. Then I began to twirl this knick-knack in my hands and I had a feeling that I had already seen something like this somewhere. I pondered about it and remembered that a couple of years ago I threw a Dnipr generator with the same rotor into the attic. At the same time, under the video where I installed a scooter ignition on the Dnipr, someone wrote a comment that in the 90s, folks used to install Minsk ignition on the Dnipr. And then it finally dawned on me. This rotor is either from a Minsk or a Voskhod, in which they drilled this hole, cut off this part, machined the shaft and bearing cover, and on top of all this goodness, this stator was put on. By the way, these two ears match the ears on the Dnipr generator. Next, the Hall sensor was removed, and this cover was put on top of all of this, which, by the way, matches the holes to these 4 bolts. So I was very lucky I got all this for free, again, thanks to my father. One little nuance, the rotor does not fit completely into the generator cover. I don't even know if I should show you this. Right now, just close your eyes. Faint-hearted people must not watch. The heck level will now go off to scale. So if suddenly some chump like me wants to make the same thing, then don't bother machining out such a bearing cover. I turn a Dnipr stator in my hands and discover that this stator is pretty much exactly the same as this one. I mean, they're same in width and diameter. Only the seat diameter of this stator is 0.5 millimeter larger than the seat diameter of the Dnipr stator. So you just need to machine the stator for the Dnipr housing or the Dnipr housing for this stator, pull out the Dnipr stator, and this stator will go in between the two halves of the Dnipr housing. Accordingly, there's no need to machine a back cover because we already have a bearing here. And when assembled together with this cover, it'll look like a regular Dnipr generator. I thought this thing was gonna be skewed like hell because when I tightened it on the bench grinder, it had a slight wobble. And accordingly, the lathe cutter I held simply in my freaking hand, man. But nevertheless, to my surprise, this thing turned out to be quite straight, if I may say. The rotor isn't skewed and rotates normally in a housing. The only thing is that the rotor itself slightly catches in these tabs that hold the coils together. Regardless of how much I try to bend these tabs back, they don't bend, so it's alright. The rotor will rub against these tabs and everything will be fine. First, I want to check the new voltage regulator I bought for the scooter generator. Does it work at all or not? 8 volts at idle, a little above idle, 12-13. A little above mid-revs immediately goes just hellish overcharging, 17-18 volts. Long story short, this regulator is also a complete junk. I don't have an ignition module for the Minsk generator, so I'll try to start it with the scooter module and with the scooter coils. I'll also try to start it with the scooter's induction sensor. I cannot use the Minsk sensor because the sensor itself is non-magnetic, so I mean it needs a magnetic rotor. Here I have everything the other way around. The rotor, I mean the butterfly, is non-magnetic and the sensor itself is magnetic. I'll also use the scooter coils, then we'll try to start it with a Dnepr coil. I won't remove this generator because I don't want to cut all these wires and then solder them back again, so it'll just lie here for now. I hope it won't run away. I do all this butchery for my own entertainment, but this doesn't mean that you should start doing the same thing to your bike. I took it off again because this rib here was resting against the block. In your normal world, you wouldn't want to do this because you could damage your bike. In my world, I know that even if I damage it, I'll fix it anyways. These two wires that come out of the generator give charging. This yellow wire, as far as I understood from Minsk electrical systems, comes out of the high voltage coils. Now I need to feed it to the module to the same place where the wire from the high voltage coil of this generator goes to. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we have spark. Man! It's pretty weak, but it's there. Okay, let's try to start it with the Minsk generator. I just can't believe it started. Damn. Who would have thought that after everything I've piled on here, it would start? I'm just speechless. What are you gonna do? Dnepr. Next, I'll try to start it with a Dnepr coil. Long story short, I installed a coil out of a microprocessor Sovec here. Yes, it just slammed in here in a hellish yokel way, but for the experiment, it's good enough. I disconnected the scooter coils and connected to one of the wires with a crocodile clip. This crocodile goes to one terminal of the Dnepr coil, the second crocodile goes to ground. Then I connected another ground here, just in case. So let's see if we have spark. Man, there is spark. Very weak, but it's there. I hope I don't hang myself on all these wires here. To say that I'm in shock is to say absolutely nothing. So a MISC generator with a Dnepr coil, with a scooter module, and with a scooter inductive sensor. And all of this freaking works. So after all this disgrace started up even with a Dnepr coil yesterday, I didn't know what to say and just went into the house. But today I came up with a couple more questions about this whole apparatus. First question, will the charging coils work? Also, I'll try to connect this electronic car voltage regulator. To be honest, I don't know how to connect it to a MISC generator properly, so I'll try it by trial and error. If you know how to connect the electronic car regulator to a 2-stroke bike generator, write me a message. And if I manage to connect a car regulator to this generator and it'll give 14 volts, I wonder if it's possible having a MISC generator and a car relay to install a Dnepr electronic ignition and will the engine start. So enough talking, let's try it. Now I removed the Dnepr coil and reconnected the scooter coils, just to have less wires. First I'll start the engine and see how many volts the generator produces. Long story short, I couldn't get this thing to start. I kicked it for about 10 minutes, made a couple of farts, but refused to start. All that because the spark with this ignition is pretty weak. Yesterday, I started it with the scooter generator, the spark is a little stronger with it. Then I plugged in the MISC generator, and accordingly, the engine being hot, even with a weak spark, started without any problems. Today, when it's cold, it refused to start at all. That's why I never advise you to do at home what I do in my garage. But if suddenly someone even thinks about making such a thing, think twice, because both the MISC generator and a scooter generator have a pretty weak spark. While with any electronic ignition it would start in any temperature from the first kick without any problems at all. Any electronic ignition has excellent spark. I'm not even talking about Saruman ignition. Bikes that I have Saruman ignition installed on, I don't have any problems with spark or starting. For example, in this Dnepr I have a Saruman ETA, an EFI Volga coil, VAZ module, and all this stuff works spectacularly. In this ETA I have 3 graphs, torque, highway, and speed. There's also an engine stop option and spark plug warm up. The spark with this ignition is just outrageous. If you want to start your bike without a battery but kick it for half an hour in cold weather, then this option is definitely not for you. But the goal was to start a Dnepr engine with a 2-stroke bike generator, and the goal's been accomplished. I did started it. But obviously this wasn't enough for me, so I removed the MISC generator, stuck in the scooter generator back, started it, warmed up the engine, and then switch them around again. Initiative torments the initiator. Or as they say, because a crazy head, everything else suffers. Without a regulator, directly at high revs it produces 16 volts. Now let's try to connect the regulator. While editing the video, I just couldn't understand. How could I forget to ground the regulator? How? So maybe it would have even worked. So that's what we have. It all seems pointless, but we still got something out of it. And we got out of it that it is possible to start an opposed engine with a 2-stroke bike generator, but it probably wouldn't be possible to operate it successfully, because in cold weather it would simply refuse to start due to weak spark. Maybe in the future I'll play with all this again, but in this video my goal's been achieved. I've started a Dnepr with a 2-stroke bike generator, and for now I'm good with that. And on this note, we'll end all this metal nonsense. Thank you all very much for watching. See you next video. Damn. I busted myself.